The living room smelled faintly of pine and roasted turkey, a warm backdrop that couldn't soften the taut air around the Christmas table. Everyone was seated, plates balanced carefully, voices polite, but measured, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. The narrator watched quietly, noticing how their sister's gaze skimmed over them, thinly veiled superiority threading through every family gathering for as long as they could remember. Earlier Christmases flickered through memory like old photographs. The sister always received the compliments, the attention, admiration. The narrator remembered smiling politely while being dismissed, hearing others laugh at jokes that stung rather than amused, noticing the subtle way disapproval or discomfort was shrugged off as nothing, had tightened their grip on the baby's tiny hand back then, silently vowing that this time boundaries would be clear, negotiable. The slap came like a cold gust of wind in a warm room, sharp, sudden, possibly cruel in the context of a holiday meant for joy. The baby's cry erupted, raw and urgent, cutting through the frozen decorum. Yet the room stayed still, faces turned away, whispers caught in throats, a strange paralysis settling over everyone. The sister leaned back, smirking, brushing it off, as if the strike hadn't occurred, said the narrator was overreacting. The words landed heavy, each one a reminder of the dismissal that had always followed whenever the narrator tried to assert themselves. A storm of disbelief, anger, and protective instinct rose inside them, but words lodged in their throat. Panic was muted, smothered by the surrounding inaction. For a few moments, everything seemed to stretch and uncomfortable. Suspended time where the baby's wail and the silent judgment of the room collided. Then the husband stood, military uniform crisp, posture rigid, and authority that needed no assertion beyond its presence. The air changed subtly. He looked at the sister, his gaze calm, deliberate, and unmistakable in its finality. "Get out," he said. The command was quiet, simple, but the weight behind it left no room for negotiation or protest. She hesitated for the briefest second, flickering with something between disbelief and recognition. Then she rose and left, slowly, deliberately, shutting the door with a muted click. No one cheered. No one clapped. There was no dramatics, no triumph. Just the room exhaling collectively, cautiously, the tension softening without disappearing. The narrator held the baby closer, feeling a mixture of relief, residual fear, and quiet validation. The house was the same, the guests unchanged. But one truth had shifted irrevocably. A boundary had been enforced, and authority had acted where the family's indifference had failed. For the first time that evening, dignity had returned, not through spectacle or revenge, but through calm, undeniable action. The rest of the night continued in tentative fragments. Conversations resumed in careful, measured tones. Some guests offered small smiles of acknowledgement, others continued as if nothing had happened. The narrator observed them all, noting the subtle ways people adjusted to the reality that control had quietly shifted. They remembered past gatherings, the silences, the dismissals, the hidden tensions, and contrasted them with the clarity now. No one had made a scene. No one had shouted. Yet, the lesson was unmistakable. Some lines, once drawn, could not be crossed without consequence. The dishes were cleared, and the final scraps of turkey were packed away. The narrator felt the weight of the evening settle over them. The sister would not return, and the quiet victory of the moment remained theirs. It was uncelebrated, private, enduring, a reminder that standing up for those we love does not always require fury or dramatics, only precision, timing, and restraint. The time the house was nearly empty, a sense of calm pervaded the narrator's thoughts. Relationships remained complex and imperfect, but control over the immediate space, the safety and dignity of their family, had been restored. They had witnessed a shift in power that was undeniable, yet quietly achieved, and it carried a resonance that would outlast the holiday, outlast the absence of celebration, and outlast the lingering awkwardness of family decorum. Victory, subtle as it was, belonged entirely to the quiet enforcement of boundaries. The baby, now nestled safely in their arms, was the living proof that action, even restrained and controlled, could shape reality and preserve what mattered most.